We are
In 500
pre-recording this
feet, use the
episode
right lane to turn right on
preserve
Shingle,
the
then turn right.
safety of our location
Turn right
and
on
everything.
Shingle Creek Parkway.
You know,
Then
everybody
use the right lane to turn right to I-94, I-694 East.
everybody is encouraging me to, oh, you should go around with somebody so that you're not alone. And I'm sure you get similar input. But I think the idea is when we both have people after us, joining together doesn't necessarily make it any safer. So this will at least keep people a day or two, or who knows how long behind us.
Use
but
the right
as we
lane
record
to turn
this,
right to I-94, I-694 East. Then keep right to I-94 East, Minneapolis.
the jury is deliberating in the Derek Chauvin trial. What are your thoughts on the whole thing?
I think America's not ready for an acquittal.
Keep right to I-94
I think
East,
that I've been
Minneapolis.
following the trial pretty closely, and then at night when I tune into MSM to see how they're covering it, I'm like, are we watching the same thing?
Yeah, well, why? What's your impression of the trial? People were saying the defense did a good job of introducing reasonable doubt as to whether or not Chauvin was the sole cause of death, or the primary cause.
And the defense did, but that's not the message that's getting out there. Like, they're making it seem like it's going to be a slam dunk for the prosecution, and so it's really going to be a violation of expectations. Like with left stream media, they only show modified like images and clips basically of the trial, and it's like, no, I'm not going to use this piece, I'm going to use this piece. So it's really level setting the expectation to not be preparing America for what's coming.
Yeah, I think the other problem is we have a lot of people using terms like science and justice who don't necessarily know what those things are or what those words mean. They have their own version of what they want that to mean.
Then keep right.
I'm so impressed by the number of people who like to, speed past in the right lane. We really need better driver education in this country. But people use these terms like justice, no justice, no peace. Well, justice is, what is justice? It's not the outcome that they want. If there is a doubt, if someone intimidates the jury, like Maxine Waters says, convict or we're going to destroy the city, and they're putting, bloody pig heads on witnesses' houses. If you're intimidating a juror to manipulate the outcome of the trial,
that's not justice.
Right. Declaring a mistrial would be justice. Now, if something like that happens, might have already happened by the time people watch this, but the city's going to erupt. I frankly do not see any outcome that's going to prevent that from happening, because I really do believe that even if Chauvin gets 10, 20 years in jail, people will say that's not good enough. He should get the death penalty, or he should get life in prison, or, George Floyd is gone, So I just don't think that there's going to be satisfaction for those that are calling for justice.
Even Maxine Waters, in her words, she was saying if there's not a conviction for like intention, he's not even on trial for that.
Right.
So she's calling for a conviction on something he's not on trial for, like a first-degree murder. Like, he's not being charged for that at all.
She's remarkably ignorant for somebody who's in Congress. I got a lot of problems with Maxine Waters. And I mean, she's clearly inciting violence. She's done it many times. She said get in people's faces at the gas station or at restaurants. Trump did not say
show them that they're not welcome here. I'm like, where have we heard that language before?
Right.
In 1,000 feet, use the right lane to exit right.
Okay. So, like I said, people are going to be able to tell where we are and where we're going.
Exit right to exit 35B,
based
I-94
on
East.
What the GPS is saying. So here's one of the experimental features. And also people will be able to tell that we're time shifting the broadcast, because I think there's time data displayed on the dash cam here. But we've got a lot of cool capabilities with this in-car setup. It's something I've been thinking about for a little while. And thank you for helping me beta test it, Tara.
Absolutely.
Such a wonderful subject for today's show. Now, here's something I definitely shouldn't do while we're driving. Set up a multi-view, but oh, look at that. There we are. So now we can be driving and people, can sort of see where we're going and look at us. It's also unclear how long it's going to take
4 minutes to exit
for the jury
Minnesota
to
55
arrive
West,
at
4th
their
Street North, 7th Street North.
final determination.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I guess I don't feel like it's going to take very
Watch out,
long,
vehicle stopped
but
on shoulder ahead.
we'll see. For me, it was very apparent of a reasonable doubt
There is
throughout-
a reasonable doubt.
throughout the case, so I don't feel that the prosecution made its point. And what people fail to realize sometimes today is like the defense doesn't have anything to prove. The prosecution has the burden of proof.
The problem is it's already been proven in people's minds from the court of public opinion. They just want this to be a lynching of
Yes.
Derek Chauvin, basically. And again, it's this total ignorance of the concept of what justice is. And I'm not defending Derek Chauvin. I'm just saying this whole case to me stinks of being manipulated. Now, I went over to Cup Foods yesterday, and there's kind of like a permanent vigil to George Floyd set up over there. I also separately went to, now, you and I met well after I was talking about George Floyd. Do you know about the connections that I was looking at between the Independent Order of Odd Fellows, the Nuevo Rodeo nightclub and restaurant? You've heard of the Nuevo Rodeo nightclub?
No.
Nuevo Rodeo nightclub and restaurant is a place where Derek Chauvin and George Floyd worked together.
Oh, that's the club.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yes, I remember
basically
that.
a day or two within the week after George Floyd's death, there was another employee of the club who said that those two guys knew each other and had a specific beef. So just the fact that that was introduced and the fact that they both worked at the same nightclub, that seems so substantial to me. For it to be completely ignored is just so bizarre. So the Independent Order of Odd Fellows is a very strange secret society that I don't really know that much about, but their headquarters in Minneapolis was in the same building and owned by the same people as Nuevo Rodeo Restaurant and Nightclub. And there was a check cashing business in that building. The thing that was so weird about it was the Nuevo Rodeo sign was right above the check cashing business, even though the restaurant was further down the block, such that it looked like the check cashing business was part of Nuevo Rodeo. Now, why am I getting into all this convoluted explanation? Well, we know that the whole incident was provoked by George Floyd allegedly using a counterfeit $20 bill.
Right.
So that's weird. Why was he trying to pass a counterfeit $20 bill? Why was it, it's almost like these guys, they spotted it like that.
Yeah.
If they're so good at spotting counterfeit 20s, why would George Floyd use such an obvious counterfeit 20? The big thing for me is that in January of 2020, U.S. Customs and Border Protection seized, I think it was $980,000 in counterfeit $1 bills. Now, who would counterfeit $1 bills and why? It's such a strange amount to counterfeit. One idea that I had was if you were running a check cashing business and people came in with checks and you were constantly handing out cash amounts of $327,
use the right lane to take exit 230, Minnesota 55 West, 4th Street North,
$276,
7th
you'd
Street
have a
North.
need to constantly be
Then
giving
exit
out
right.
low denominations of cash. And if, let's say, a lot of people cashed their checks and then went right to the bar that you also owned, couldn't you recycle many dollars through a system like that where nobody would really notice and you'd be kind of laundering money through this check cashing company? There was also a Western Union and I think a check cashing business in Cub Foods. Now, that sign was not there anymore. But my question becomes, if there is some sort of counterfeiting operation going on, and if the police are involved, to the extent that Derek Chauvin is working there, he knows Floyd, there's some kind of beef. What if George Floyd is saying, hey man, I want this and that, I want money, or I'm gonna,
Expose
blow
it.
the whistle, right? And then he goes and spends the
Exit
20
right
and somebody
to
calls and
exit
says, hey,
230,
Floyd is in
Minnesota
here with
55 West,
the
4th
counterfeit
Street
money, or
North,
whatever.
7th Street North.
Why?
Then exit right to
Did
Minnesota
all of this
55
happen?
West,
Why would
7th
Chauvin
Street
smile at the camera while he does all that? He had to know that this was going to result in a trial. He had to know that this was going to result in riots. It's the whole thing, to me, reeks of being a setup that
Exit
people
right to
wanted this
Minnesota
all to happen.
55 West,
Yeah.
7th Street North.
And none of this has been explored. Where is the guy? Why didn't that guy who went on a CBS local affiliate saying that George Floyd and Derek Chauvin knew each other. Why didn't that guy testify at the trial?
Yeah, I remember hearing about him, and then he just like disappeared from the media.
Not only that, his statement was retracted in a written, short, terse, written retraction. Whereas the initial statement that they knew each other, he appeared on camera with the reporter, did not equivocate, had no doubt. He didn't say, I think they know each other, maybe they know each other. George Floyd is a very distinctive looking guy. He was 6'5", I think. Kind of hard to miss.
Yeah.
Even if you're racist, and there actually is no particular indication that Derek Chauvin is. He was married to a Laotian woman, wasn't he?
Yeah. It's an Asian lady.
All right, so maybe he's racist against black people, but if they know each other and they have a beef, and if someone tells him, get down there and make sure nobody ever hears from that guy again, no matter what, why aren't we exploring any of that? It's just this rush to judgment, get Chauvin off to the gallows. And I mean, listen, my fear is there's going to be something. Mistrial.
Yes.
5 years in prison because of
even with what Maxine Waters has said, the judge yesterday said that this gives you grounds for an overturn.
Right. Exactly, for an appeal. That doesn't mean it will be appealed, but that means that they can submit an appeal, and we're going to have another year or whatever of him not being convicted, or sentenced, I should say. And that alone...
This drags out.
Well, it's going to make a riot.
Yes.
In other words, unless they say, oh, he's being put to death right here in front of everybody, and then you can drag his body through the street, anything short of that, I think, is going to be unsatisfactory.
The way the media was portraying everything, as the first thing I looked into when I heard of Floyd's death and Chauvin's case was I was looking into trying to find information what I could online about the previous complaints that were against Chauvin to see if because I didn't see it as race related when I first saw it.
Right.
And And so when the whole narrative was coming out that this is all about race, I'm like, okay, well, he's known to have prior complaints. And I looked into the prior complaints to see what information was out there. And if the prior complaints were also related to race, they would have been publicizing that information right away. And they didn't. So that made me then question that, like, this is probably not race related. Otherwise, they would have ran with that information.
You would think.
And so the fact that they didn't, this guy was probably just like a jerk across the board to everybody, which doesn't make him a racist.
It's an interesting point and definitely worth exploring. But again, it's, the whole thing seems to be like a pre-existing narrative that they just wanted to get to a particular conclusion, irrespective of the facts. So there we go. I want everybody to be able to see where we're going here, because the reason why I wanted to do this was not just to showcase technology, but rather there's a lot of interesting things that I've been seeing. Whoops, yellow light. Okay. We made it. Now that's a tough looking Mercedes right there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
fitting for the city.
A lot of interesting things that I have seen while driving around that are super difficult to capture walking around, because we're covering a lot more ground, obviously. And so now, hopefully, we're going to drive a little bit through downtown here.
This is my first time in Minneapolis.
Is it?
Yeah.
Are you feeling like you want to listen to Prince music? Or buy a My Pillow?
Turn left on Glenwood Avenue.
Have you been following all this Mike Lindell?
Mike Lindell, was it Bed Bath & Beyond won't carry him, Amazon won't carry him. They really canceled him. But he's starting a competitor to Amazon, I heard.
To Amazon?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was focusing on having a competitor to Google and Twitter and YouTube.
He's taking them all on.
I don't think that's going to work. I was watching a little bit of his Frank Speech live streaming network, which actually doesn't seem like a live streaming network. It just seemed like a website for him to live stream. And I have to retract the statement I made about Mike Lindell. I've previously said that I don't believe his story about being a crack addict. I believe it. When I watch him on that show, it looks like he's on a coke bender right now. He's just going crazy, popping off nonstop. Okay, so here, people can start to see some of the boarded up businesses as we move around here. Definitely downtown
turn right on 3rd
Minneapolis
Avenue South.
is getting ready for war. Look at that, Mayo Clinic. They're very big in Minnesota.
Oh, so like when I came into the airport last night, a police officer helped me to find the transit, and he's like, "Let me check the cart that that I'm gonna put you on," and he's like, "Stand next to the door, don't sit down," and I'm like,
Why all that?
exactly. This is the first impression I have of Minneapolis just from the airport. But the police officer said, "You're by yourself. Like,
Wow.
stand next to the door. Don't sit down during the ride." And I'm like, "Am I supposed to jump out of the car and run for any particular reason?"
Unbelievable. So all of these businesses are boarded up. It feels like New York, summertime.
Yeah. Reminds me of DC.
Yeah. I have to be honest, I haven't spent that much time in Minneapolis either. I mean, I've been here before, but I don't really know the city at all. And one thing that's been interesting on this road trip is that as I move around through all these different cities and all these different states, there is really a very different vibe. You know, a lot of people have a tendency, I think, to not really leave their hometown very much.
Mm-hmm.
So we need a couple things. We need
In
a
1,000
parking
feet,
space.
use the right lane to turn right.
And so it says no right up there. I think we're getting to an area that's going to be maybe closed off. Here we got the Crown Bank. You see that? Let's see if we can get a better view of that for everybody. I kind of like this little driving tour of the city. Can you see that on the?
Oh, that's cool.
Got us there on the inset. Yeah, so everybody can see what time we're making this video. That's fine. It'll go out after you and I are in a safe location. So we're just about 2 blocks away from this government center. Let's see if we can get anywhere near it.
More people boarding up over there.
Oh, yeah. Well, when we find a suitable spot,
News
we'll
crews.
get out and take a look. Yeah, I mean, everybody is. That's the Canadian Pacific Plaza right there. It's strange. As I drive around Minneapolis, it seems to be simultaneously being destroyed and reconstructed, which perhaps is not surprising for a lot of people to hear. Yeah, it definitely reminds me of DC with all these fences and.
Turn right on
Right
3rd
lane
Avenue
must
South.
turn right. So let's do it. Here's a stand-up. Somebody doing a news stand-up. A lot of news all around. So this is cool. We'll just kind of scope out. I guess this is the.
You've arrived. Destination is in your left.
So here's the Star Tribune. You see that? We've read stories from there for sure. That's the main newspaper. I thought we would see more people outside of there.
Maybe they're protesting in front of the courthouse. There was a student march the other.
Isn't that the courthouse, the government center?
Is there a difference?
I thought that was where the thing was happening. Look, here's a guy. Can people see that guy? This is cool. We're definitely much safer if anybody tries to throw eggs at you. We have a whole car to protect you. There we go. Well, so now we're just kind of driving around.
There's more news crews over there. That's the crowd, probably.
Yeah, that's the crowd. All right, so let's see how we can get down to over there. I guess make a left. Yeah, one way. So how was your trip to Poland, Tara?
It was in lockdown in Warsaw, so I had a couple of days that the museums were open, so that was good. But it was frigidly cold, and my dad's village is really a quaint Soviet-style village in a sense. The closest Starbucks is like 45 minutes away, so I'm like, we have civilization.
Had you ever been there before?
I had. The first time I went to Poland was when I was 7 years old, so I'd been back and forth. I'm actually a Polish citizen too, so.
Oh, wow. So you're an EU citizen?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That means you could become a citizen of any EU country, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's cool.
I figure if America burns up, I got an escape route lined
you mean
up.
if they can't put it out. It's burning right now. It's not funny. I mean, it is. The only we can do is laugh. But
Yeah.
here's the United Way. So this is interesting in and of itself, that we can drive around, and Tara, not only can't take that, unfortunately, right now. That's my lawyer in the Emmys lawsuit. I wonder if something has happened. I'll have to call him after the live stream. There's a lot going on with those lawsuits right now, and it actually is increasing the pressure on certain things. But let's see if we can make a left here and get over to whatever was going on there, and then we might find a parking space and hop out. By the way, that's for lease. Talk about a ghost town. Have you seen any pedestrians?
Approaching a railroad crossing.
Not very much.
Yeah.
And pedestrians all have cameras in their hand.
That's true. And Wells Fargo, every city I go to, you know, Wells Fargo, U.S. Bank, there's more bank buildings and more banks.
U.S. Bank Stadium.
Right. And Wells Fargo there. See, and this right here, look, tour today. That looks like a brand new apartment building. Who would move here?
Nope. I'm sure it would be lovely.
Well, if it wasn't for riots and disastrous protests, it might
Yeah,
be.
and worrying about if you're going to make it alive from the CVS. I mean, be alert. Watch for pedestrians. Where?
Right. Yeah, watch for pedestrians in New York. So let's see. Can people see that crowd there? I mean, the camera's kind of pointed straight ahead. Let's see if we can hear anything. Any idea what's going on there?
It's, I think BLM speeches. BLM speeches.
Oh yeah, I see a Black Lives Matter car there. That's interesting. Huh. Well, let's just keep driving around and get an idea of what's going on. Oh, wow, there's a guy with a canine. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the courthouse here. And everybody's just waiting. See, you and I don't have the luxury of having crews. These people could wait here all day, every day, for the next 5 days, and to catch literally 30 seconds of video. Then they send it back to their news station, and it goes on. You and I need to rely on the luck of being in the right place at the right time. So there's people who are waiting here. We got the courthouse all boarded up. Everything is boarded up down here. People can see. Yeah.
Oh, this is where I came down last night. When I took the transit,
Uh-huh.
I came into this and I was like, whoa!
Yeah, I mean, it looks like, I don't even know what. It looks like a total war zone here. Here, let's make a right. Can we make a right here? So how would you say that Poland's COVID-19 procedures compare to New York or any place?
Approaching a railroad crossing.
Poland was pretty locked down when I was there. I did go to a lockdown protest, an anti-mask protest that
Do you
was
speak
in Warsaw.
Polish?
Very lightly.
Do people in Poland speak English?
Mostly.
Ah.
At least in Warsaw. And in my dad's village, maybe not so much.
There's another new, is that the same building?
Yeah, I think this is the other side of... Oh.
No, this is different. This is Edition Apartments. That's another new building. And look, there's a Starbucks. You want some coffee?
Antifa
there's
might
another
smash
new
those
one.
windows later on.
They will.
Yep.
Right. Well, why haven't they? Why aren't these things boarded up? All this other stuff is. I don't know.
I got a t-shirt that says not Antifa window repair.
Yeah, Antifa. Oh, look at that dog with the cone on his head. That's the biggest one I've ever seen.
Oh.
Well, it's a good-looking U.S. Bank Stadium. See, it's strange. Wells Fargo, they are boarded up. But that looks pretty new, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Why does Wells Fargo need all these office buildings?
Are they based here?
I don't think so. Wells Fargo, I think, is like California or something. Used to run stagecoaches, right?
Yeah.
We're sort of just wandering around the city, and we seem to be getting away from where all of the kind of activity is. But, you know, this is, when you think about a smart city or even some of these Chinese cities that are empty, this sort of brings that to mind, right? All this new stuff, nobody's around, doesn't really exactly make economic sense that all this new construction would be happening in such an economically depressed city that is becoming famous for being destroyed.
And you think of the tourism for here, it's like, oh, I'm going to go visit Cup Foods.
Do you want to go over there and see what's going on over there?
It's like, when you look at like reviews online, go see Cup Foods, go do this, the courthouse.
It's only,
that's what it's getting known for.
Right.
It's so
only
sad.
3 miles away, so we could head over there and just take a look. I was there yesterday walking around talking to people, but, you know, I don't know. Do we want to get out and walk around the streets here, or?
It's up to you.
I mean, this is kind of interesting. This is a change of pace from what's normally done, so we can carry on, I think, with the drive around.
Yeah.
A new format. We could sing karaoke and then be like that British guy. Pool karaoke. Oh, wait, who wanted me to make a left there? All right. Well, now we're...
You know, the around Cup Foods, you were saying that they set up almost like a Chaz type area. Yeah. I was seeing online on their Twitter saying that they're not allowing white people in there.
Oh,
turn right
really
on
nice
Washington Avenue South.
Well, I was there yesterday, so, I mean, again, they're talking about justice, they're talking about peace, and then doing things like saying, oh, we're not going to let white people in.
Mm-hmm.
How is that? And here's another new apartment building. What is going on around here, Tara?
It's unoccupied.
On Occupy Wall Street? There's a lot of new construction down over here. I just find that interesting. Trader Joe's. East End. That looks like a new apartment building. This looks like a new apartment building. That looks like a new apartment building. A Loft Hotel, W Hotel. Seems like somebody might know something we don't know. Have you been vaccinated?
No.
They just announced President Stupid Joe said that every adult in America can get a vaccine now.
Yeah, 16 and up.
Isn't that great?
Fantastic. Fantastic.
I actually forgot to ask Dr. Jensen yesterday. I meant to ask him, I might have just announced something that I haven't played yet, but I meant to ask Dr. Scott Jensen if a vaccine that doesn't necessarily prevent you from getting the disease and doesn't necessarily prevent you from transmitting the disease, if that's actually a vaccine.
In a quarter of a mile, turn right.
Like if I told you, hey, Tara, I bought you a car for your birthday, you'd be like, wow, because you have some vision in your head of what a car is. But if I gave you a box of Kleenex and told you this is the car, you'd say, well, how is that a car? There's no wheels.
Biden-Harris.
Oh, yeah. Wow. In an empty parking lot. That's probably the site of his latest rally. See, now we're back to boarding up. So some of these places don't seem to fear the destruction of, these places are all boarded up here. Maxwell's American Cafe.
Use the right lane to turn right to I-35W South.
The other thing that's interesting is that gas is remarkably lower in price here than elsewhere around the country. $2.89 at this gas station. LA, it was over $5 in some places.
Wow.
Yeah, and most places around the country, it's over $3. All right, so now we're on the highway. This might not be quite as interesting, but it still gives people an idea of what's going on in the area around here.
Florida's gas prices are still, I guess, relatively low then.
Use the middle lane to keep
Relatively,
left.
yeah. Florida wasn't as high as California for sure. I mean, I guess it has to do with the tax on gas, and also I think the proximity to refineries is an important thing because
South.
Transport.
Exactly. I-35W South. Yeah, definitely looking after the live stream introduces, you gotta be very careful. I'm super glad that we've got this dash cam for a variety of reasons, including allowing people to see what's going on. So how's your show been
2.1
going?
miles.
Remind everybody how they
Take
can
exit
see that
14,
show.
35th
On
Street,
YouTube, it's
36th
Polish
Street.
American Brotherhood, and I've been doing a lot of live streams. I've got a lot of new gear, set up the studio at home. Really excited about the new equipment. Got it tested out just in time to leave. I'm going to be on the road for a little bit, several days in Minneapolis, up to New York, and then I plan on covering still like Chicago, Portland, Seattle, and I think it's going to be a very interesting summer that we're going to have, so I'll have a lot of road time.
That's cool. And then you've also got that studio show,
Live One.
Live One.
Yeah,
right.
Live
How's that
One.
been going?
Good. We've got several individuals running for Congress from New Jersey that are going to be doing in studio interviews, and then also 3 New York City mayors have confirmed, candidates for New York City mayors have also confirmed for doing in studio interviews. So I'm
That's
super
great.
excited about that.
That's great. And people see that also on Polish American Brotherhood.
Yes, I'll put that on the Polish American Brotherhood, and then you can check out on YouTube Live One, and it's live1.tv for the website.
That's great. That's great. See, the highway is under construction. It's strange to me. I mean, you go around Minneapolis, and there are so many areas that are so economically depressed. And then here's Wells Fargo, Home Mortgage. There's a lot of Wells Fargo presence around here. You know, we focused a lot with Charles Ortel on charity fraud and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we ever hear about taxing banks? How much tax do banks pay? How much money do they make? And I mean, in a lot of cases, they're international. So I don't know, maybe you tax a bank. I don't think anybody's too worried about banks taking their business elsewhere.
In half a mile, exit right, then
The other
continue
reason
straight.
why this is interesting to do as a drive, I mean, look at this.
Is that a
looks like
bridge?
It's some kind of transit. It looks like trains, right?
Yeah.
It looks new and it's already got graffiti on it.
It's the welcome graffiti.
That reminds me of Dubai, the trains in Dubai. But where we're going right now is extremely economically depressed areas around Cub Foods. And
Exit right to exit 14, 35th Street, 36th Street.
the thing that I found really
Then
super
continue on
interesting,
Stevens
and we'll be
Avenue
able to
South.
cover this better than I was yesterday.
Mhm.
When I left Cub Foods, I wanted to go over to Nuevo Rodeo, the nightclub where George Floyd and Derek Chauvin allegedly worked together, and there was even another co-worker, another employee of the
Continue on
nightclub
Stevens Avenue South.
who days after the death came forward and said that they knew each other. Chauvin and Floyd knew each other and had a beef.
Mm-hmm.
And that just seems so significant. That's such a significant data point that it has to be fully investigated. But instead, what's happened is it's been absolutely suppressed.
Mm-hmm.
And this is exactly the type of thing that allows disinformation and lies to take over the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So if we had run that down, you know, any number of facts could have come to the fore, but instead, the fact pattern that they want everybody to accept is that Chauvin was a racist, killed Floyd because he was black.
Mm-hmm.
If it is that Chauvin and Floyd are two participants in a criminal conspiracy who know each other, and there's some sort of internal fight within that criminal conspiracy that results in Floyd needing to be eliminated,
In 500 feet,
That's
turn
so
left on East
significant.
36th
Mhm.
Street.
but we'll never know that because none of these facts are being explored. And
Turn
I'm
left on
surprised
East 36th
during the trial they didn't explore whether they knew each other. That seems like it would be an easy.
well, they don't want to explore that because that's going to lead to the truth. And I think what they want is to have a predetermined outcome. You know, you got these guys like Benjamin Crump, the lawyer. He is always floating around these things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you saw.
He's going to be representing the Wright,
I'm sure,
Dante
I'm
Wright's
sure.
family.
Any type of controversy that either is or is framed as a racial incident,
Mm-hmm.
that is what Crump thrives on. And we used to do a lot of shows with Larry Gators, who we won't go into the details of why that show ended, but he had a lot of interesting information about, I think it's Beta Pi Phi, the fraternity, the Boule, which is a secret society that I do believe you need to be black to be in. And Benjamin Crump on his website, I don't know if it's still there, we spoke about it quite a bit, and he has a tendency to edit things that we try to bring to people's attention, but he said he's in the Boule. And there's a lot of things about
turn
that
right on
that
Portland
are
Avenue South.
strange to me. Secret societies like the Boule, the Independent Order of Odd Fellows, just talking about it is the type of thing that people are like, oh, this is a conspiracy theory. But how is it a conspiracy theory? These are actual things. I didn't create these societies. I didn't create these organizations. I didn't create the rules that allow people to become members or disallow other people
In
from
1,000
joining.
feet, turn
Look
right.
at the smoke coming out of that car behind us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Sure
Anyway,
that's not tear gas?
I don't know what that is, but people can look around at this neighborhood and see that this is not, new apartment buildings. This is not Wells Fargo branches. This is a shitholi by the traditional definition. And I've been saying this many times on this trip. I don't understand why we would send $1 billion to Ukraine when
Turn right on
I think
Portland
this
Avenue
neighborhood could benefit from $1 billion or even $20 million. What if they rehabilitated this neighborhood to the tune of $20 million? And how would that impact crime? How would that, you talk about defunding the police. I don't know if that's going to make life better here.
Well, you have the
Turn
BLM
left on East
leader or
39th
founder just purchasing all of those $1
Right.
million homes in white neighborhoods. She didn't choose to invest that money into black neighborhoods.
Good point. Yeah, I think she's a hypocrite, like most socialists are. They want, the collective to live in squalor and have a...
Well, she's a true Marxist.
Right. They want to have a low standard of living for the collective, and then they live high on the hog in mansions. It's not just her. Look at Nancy Pelosi. Look at Ocasio-Cortez. She's not, getting by on the, by the way, higher than most people's salary of a congressperson. She's
She's a very talented actress.
39th
Well,
Street.
she's essentially an Instagram model who is in Congress. Right?
Yep.
I mean, she's there getting free clothing and mixing cocktails and doing Instagram lives and whatever the hell she's doing. And she's got a lot of
In 900
influence
feet,
as
turn
a
left
social
on
media
Chicago Avenue
influencer.
South.
But she doesn't know a damn thing to be running programs in Congress and giving people advice for how to run the country. I don't know.
I was so as I've been interviewing candidates who are running for Congress, and they're so knowledgeable with great ideas, and because I do want to go for Congress in the future myself.
Nice, yes.
And as to when I do, I'm not sure. I feel like there's so much to learn, and so as I've been interviewing like these wonderful people running for Congress, like Billy Prempeh and Darius Mayfield, I'm like, oh, I still need so much to learn, and I'm like, I have to put it off. But then I look at AOC, and I'm like,
Yeah, you can just do it.
I was like, I could just do it now.
Yes, absolutely. That's true. All right,
Like,
so
you don't
I know
need
if
an
you
idea.
can see this here. This is the George Floyd vigil. It's kind of empty compared to yesterday. Let's go.
This is like the Chaz zone. See,
Turn
it says
on.
no whites.
Does it? It didn't say that yesterday. Hang on.
It's like spray painted on it. It
Oh
says
my
no
gosh.
whites.
Let's turn around and check that out. See, I was in there yesterday, and I
Turn
mean,
right on Elliott Avenue
how
South.
is that not inciting violence to just create a
That
segregated
guy,
area?
that guy is like standing guard.
In
Wasn't he
500
white
feet,
though?
Turn right on
I
East
didn't
40th
notice.
Street.
How could it say no whites? That's crazy.
I think I saw it like spray painted no white. I mean, we just drove by very quickly,
Yeah, no,
but
we'll check it
I
out.
thought I saw
Turn
that.
right on East 40th Street.
But I remember seeing the social media posts that they are not allowing white people to be going into this space.
How is that
Turn right
going to
on
achieve
Chicago Avenue
anything
South.
other than more anger, more hatred, more
Well,
violence?
that's what they want.
is
That's
what
to
they want.
divide society, create this race war.
Okay, so here we go. We're pulling up to the thing here.
In 900 feet, you'll arrive at Cub Foods.
What does it say?
It says
White here.
exhale.
Oh, it says
Whittier
Whittier
Dental or something.
Dental?
Yeah, Whittier Dental, it says.
All
There's
right.
plenty of white people in there. I was in there yesterday. You can't really drive in there. So the thing I wanted people to see is, so here, now if we go to, what was
Turn right on Elliott Avenue
program in
South.
the address for the building I want to show you. It's 3003 27th Avenue South. That's it. So that was
Turn
interesting
left on
in and of
Elliott
itself.
Avenue
The
South.
address is 3003. What's that dude making faces at? Did you see that angry old dude?
No, I didn't see his face.
I guess he didn't like it that I stopped in the middle of the street. But, I mean, what do you think about this neighborhood, Tara?
In
George
600
Floyd,
feet,
Dante,
turn right on East
right.
38th Street.
Black Lives Matter.
I'm not criticizing it, I'm just observing. This is not, in my opinion, a wealthy neighborhood. The road needs work.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the houses need repairs. It looks to me like perhaps it was
Turn
at
right
one
on East
time a
38th
nice
Street.
neighborhood, but it's kind of dilapidated. It's fallen into disrepair a bit. So here we see another angle. Let me see if I can turn around and we can take a look at that. I need to get another camera in the car that we can. Well, actually, I have it, but that's a little difficult to do. We'll just turn around and people can see that. Yeah, so I was walking around in here yesterday, and that's a video that people can check out. But they've basically closed it off. Now, this is not the city
Turn right on
that's
Elliott
closed
Avenue
it off.
South.
So this is essentially a
Dispel white supremacy.
Misspelled it?
Dispel. It
Oh,
says
dispel.
dispel white supremacy.
They should misspell it. Here, F12, rest in power. But I mean, this is not closed down by the city. This is not. That's essentially an occupied zone over there.
It's setting up an autonomous zone.
I mean, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The gas
In
station
900
has been
feet,
abandoned
turn
over
right
there.
on East 36th Street.
Again, I'm not criticizing a George Floyd memorial or a George Floyd vigil or whatever that is, but we have our cities breaking down from order into chaos, where when residents decide to close streets with makeshift barricades and do whatever they want, that's different than voting on things and having representatives who run a government that makes orderly and organized decisions based on laws. People will say I'm a statist
Turn right
or
on
whatever.
East
Everybody who wants
36th Street.
anarchy,
Mm-hmm.
okay, but I don't want anarchy.
I heard that they were trying to establish this area also as an autonomous zone, similar to like Chaz in.
They've done it. It's done. It's there. They just haven't advertised that that's what it is, so it hasn't gotten national media attention, and they're not shooting anybody in there, so that's cool. There are no warlords there or whatever. This concept of no justice, no peace, eliminate the police, like we've already seen, and if it's not obvious to everyone, what would happen if there are no police? The biggest thug with the most guns in the back of his Tesla becomes the warlord who's in charge, and if you don't like it, you get shot.
In a quarter of a mile, turn
And
left
then
on
that
Bloomington
person
Avenue South.
is in charge. But I don't see anybody walking around the streets here. I don't see children playing. I don't see. It doesn't look like a lot of energy in this neighborhood. Here's a place.
In
apartments
1,000
for
feet,
rent.
turn left, then turn right.
You see the LGBT flag on this house?
I was actually surprised that we saw the American flag up there because they seem like to be pitting BLM and America. So I was surprised to see that next to each other.
I think there's definitely some conflicting views in there because there's a lot of people who support BLM on the basis of the name Black Lives Matter. I mean, you and I and many other guests, we've spoken about how that's the purpose of it. The name itself is a psychological trick because obviously, if you disagree with that
Turn
statement,
left
you
on
would have to be
Bloomington Avenue
racist.
South, then turn right on East 35th Street.
But disagreeing with a Marxist organization that wants to destroy the government, that seems like something that a lot of reasonable people might do.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? This might improve our lighting. It's pretty overcast today, so I don't know if that made any difference at all.
The organizers of BLM probably planned it out to be that way.
Yeah,
I
of
heard
course.
I heard that one of the activists from New York, the head of the BLM, like New York, was
Hawk Newsom.
he had asked for like an audit of the national leader when she had bought all those houses,
Turn right on East
and then
35th
in
Street.
return she slapped him with a lawsuit for using the name Black Lives Matter.
Ah, interesting.
And so they've tried to trademark the name, but they've always been denied trademarking Black Lives Matter.
I guess it's too late that it's already been used by so many other things, or I'm not sure. I have some trademarks on things, and it's a little bit. I guess if other people challenge it or something, and they've been using it, you know, it's to me. Black Lives Matter is so hypocritical and opportunistic. And then, you know, Breonna Taylor's mother said they haven't done anything for her. Her lawyer is also Benjamin Crump. That social media post was shortly deleted, shortly after being posted. Here we see more boarded up businesses. So even in this neighborhood where they're supporting BLM, that neighborhood, what is that? Can you make out what that's about? But there looks like no business activity happening in this neighborhood.
A lot of the businesses that have supported BLM with donating massive amount of money, I mean, the rioters are still attacking and burning those businesses like Apple and Target.
Yes, exactly. That just happened, I think, last night. That in Portland, they burned down the Apple store. I wonder if Apple going to continue supporting. Well, they'll say, "Oh, that wasn't BLM. That was spontaneous." But so many houses have BLM signs, George Floyd signs.
When I was in Portland in January, so that Apple store, in downtown Portland, the businesses there have had like murals painted all on their boards, and so Apple included. And so, you burn down the BLM murals that are in front of these stores also.
Well, I think it just shows that they don't really have any logical goal.
What's the end game?
Chaos and destruction.
Turn left on 23rd Avenue South.
I don't know if that person can read the word stop. A lot of road work needed over here. Don't they? I mean, isn't it? I guess it's Jordan Peterson whose advice is to make your bed.
In a quarter of a mile, turn right on
Like
East
that's
32nd
the first piece
Street.
of advice. Like if you can't even make your bed, don't go telling other people what to do. That's what we need to do here in the United States. We can't even make this bed. What are we giving other people money, telling China what to do? We should. That's the thing. Donald Trump is a flawed man. He was a flawed president.
In 1,000 feet,
did a lot of things
turn
with
right.
warp speed and the vaccine and 180 on go back to work. That this is no worse than the flu or Ebola or whatever. A lot of things that Donald Trump did that were not what we wanted him to do. But America first, when you're America, that just makes sense. Why don't we help all of the people living in impoverished cities before we help other countries? And invite impoverished people to come to this country, exacerbating the problem.
Exactly. When they're spending $81 million in hotel rooms
right
for illegal migrants, and we have homeless veterans.
Oh, you're not allowed to say illegal migrants anymore. I think President
Again?
Joe made the word illegal.
Another executive order.
Yeah.
Controlling my free speech.
I guess it's just government agencies. So to be fair, the members of the press who like to make
In a quarter of a mile,
inflammatory
turn left on
headlines,
Minnehaha Avenue.
they said that President Stupid Joe has banned the word illegal alien. But that's not true. You can't ban a word. He's just issued an order to federal employees that they're no longer allowed to use that in official communications and stuff like that, which that's all right. I don't particularly object to that, but he's in charge of the federal government. He can control what and how they communicate about stuff. So we're getting closer to where this Independent Order of Oddfellows building was located with the Nuevo Rodeo restaurant and nightclub. I was really disappointed. I wanted to have dinner there last night and just sort of see what the hell is going on.
Then turn right.
But the entire building has been destroyed. And when I was here, I didn't even know if I'm going to put up the video of when I came here because it was so short. And I was kind of confused because I just couldn't believe that the building would be totally destroyed. Somebody told me that it burned down, which doesn't seem possible because I just looked at it on Google Earth last night, and the entire building was made of brick. How does a brick building burn down? I mean, it could burn completely on the inside, but if you own the building and it was burned up, wouldn't you just like renovate it and clear out the inside and rebuild
Left
rather
on
than destroy the whole
Minneapolis
place?
Avenue. Then
I
turn
mean,
right on 27th Avenue South.
it just seems quite strange and like a great way to destroy a lot of evidence if that was what you wanted to do.
How convenient.
Right, and again, my allegation is that something to do with $1 counterfeit bills, this nightclub, a potential network of check cashing businesses, the Independent Order of Odd Fellows, and the George Floyd murder. I think this was the site right here.
Wow.
Because it's gone. Here's abolished
Turn right on
police.
27th Avenue South.
Yeah, I looked at this again last night.
Convenient.
I'm pretty sure it's either this or that. Let's see. Let's get a spot here. Just park the car.
You've arrived at your destination.
All right, so now we're going to do the trickiest aspect of this production, which is to try to leave the vehicle. Are you ready for that?
All right.
Okay, so hang on. Here's how we're going to do it. Oh no, where did that other thing go?
What are you looking for?
I had a camera on a stabilizer back here. Oh, here it is. I guess it fell on the floor when I slammed on the brakes. Okay, you ready? Wait, that's not working properly. All right, this is people seeing the sausage getting made here. Okay, ready? Here we go. Okay, so I think we've got the right camera on here now. There we go. So I'm pretty sure that right there was it. Let's walk over there and see what's going on. Just make sure this is locked. Yeah. Okay, so I'm pretty sure this is it. Or it might have been that one there on the corner, but there were 4 buildings on each of the corners of the street here, and one of them was the Independent Order of Odd Fellows and Nuevo Rodeo restaurant. And you can see that the building on that corner has been completely razed. This building has been completely razed. What do you make of this?
How convenient if it's not here anymore. But you got a good point that if there was evidence inside, got rid of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just completely shut down the whole question of what if it... And look at all the construction going on around here. Apartments. It's strange, isn't it? So maybe this is an aspect of the story that you haven't considered before.
Yeah.
Let's take a walk over here. I like it that we've gone from in-car to now walking around. I haven't seen that on a YouTube live stream before. So if people enjoy the road trip and these types of innovative production techniques, I hope that they'll become sponsors by going to subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Tara, have you started a Patreon page?
I have started a Patreon page.
Well,
You're like my first subscriber.
Oh yeah, right. I remember. I'm on there. So tell people how they can find you on Patreon.
Polish American Brotherhood. The handle is POAM Brotherhood.
So patreon.com/POAMBrotherhood. That's a great way for people to support Tara and keep her going. So let's take a look at what we got. that might have been it. East Lake Street. Should have brought the. No, it was right here. It was on East Lake 27th. So it's either that corner or this corner. Both buildings are gone.
Have you gone around Brooklyn Center?
Not much, but we could do that for sure.
Brooklyn Center, they had, that's where the riots are going on with Dante Wright for the last couple of days.
Right. Well, you know what? Hey, let's go over there and look at that eyeball graffiti for a second. I think there's a lot of meaning in some of this graffiti, and there's a lot of eyeballs around, a lot of swirls around.
Actually, when I was going around Warsaw, my dad was explaining to me some of the graffiti that was there.
Really?
Like there was a rabbit that I saw around, a rabbit graffiti, and so that had to do with like the last of the, I think the prior administration. It's like a rabbit symbol.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, I think there's communication that could be going on with some of this graffiti. This person looks intense.
What was interesting to also see was like the graffiti that we see here, like ACAB. We saw that also in Warsaw. That's not a term that Polish people use.
Right. How did they get there? That's very interesting.
And it was, I remember seeing it on a church, and Poland is a very Catholic country, so it's to see graffiti on a church, ACAB on a church, there is very...
Well, let me ask you this. Didn't the original Antifa start in Poland?
I think yes, in its true actual meaning of being anti-fascist.
Right.
But now it's Antifa, the organization now. I mean, there's a huge Antifa in Germany. But Antifa as we know it today.
Right. A lot of butterfly graffiti. A lot of BLM graffiti. So, I mean, what is this? It's just totally closed off. No one's doing any business in here. Danger, keep out.
I see him.
This was a clinic, East Lake Clinic. It's closed. That seems bad. So it's the Rice Lake Construction Group that's taking you over here. Should we enter here and ask them? They're not going to know, huh? They're definitely not going to want to talk to us. So here's Aldi. That's a food store. Are we loud enough? Do you think they're loud enough? According to Maxine Waters, they need to get more aggressive.
They had the National Guard drive-by right after she said that too.
Exactly. Why isn't she being expelled from Congress for that? Well, Tara, I think we've covered this part of the story, and unfortunately, the way I've set this up, when we go back into the car, I won't be able to relink the cameras in there without shutting all of this off. So I think what we could do is maybe say goodbye for now, and maybe go check out Brooklyn Center, see if there's any protests going on, come back with another stream.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody, thanks for watching. Hey, look, Jerry Garcia. Buffalo. All right, there we go. All right, everybody. Thanks.